Welcome to today's broadcast of North Idaho College Public Forum. The crew is comprised of NIC television students, and your moderator is North Idaho College political scientist Tony Stewart.
Today we commence a 4-week series about public education in America. There's been much discussion in recent years about what we should do in public education, and we on this program think that many exciting things are already happening. We'd like to inform you about those very important issues and achievements and innovative ways of dealing with public education. We decided in order to accomplish that goal that we would invite faculty members, administrators from one of the public schools in the state of Idaho to carry out this mission. We chose the Post Falls, Idaho School District. That district was chosen because we believe they're doing many exciting things for the children and the people that they serve in that district. So this week and for the next 3 weeks after that, we will discuss this particular important issue, and we will be covering staff and faculty from all 5 schools within that district. On the first program, I'm very fortunate to have with me the superintendent of the Post Falls School District, Kathy Canfield Davis, and she will be discussing with us in a few minutes what is happening in that district. Next to her, I have the principal of the Post Falls Junior High School, Bill Ramich, who has been at that school for some time, and he will discuss with you what is going on in that particular school within the district. And we're very fortunate to have 2 faculty members. And as a faculty member myself, I know that that's the heart of the action with education and with young people. First of all is Colleen Kelsey, and next to her is Kurt Cutter, who both are very active in that district as well as teachers. Welcome to all 4 of you. We're very excited about this series. Kathy, if you don't mind, I will start with you and have a series of questions about your district. Oftentimes when you're talking about public education, it is affected significantly by the size of the district, the kind of money you have, the faculty and the personnel. And so we'll be cognizant of that fact as we move through this, and I'm sure there are districts that are much smaller than yours that can't do some of the things you're doing. I would suspect there are districts that are much larger that are doing some things that you can't. But would you take a little time, first of all, to give us some statistics from your district and what size it is, and is it one of the growing districts in the Northwest?
Certainly. Tony, let me first of all let you know how privileged we feel and honored we feel to be the school district that will help you honor education in America. On behalf of the district, thank you. Post Falls School District covers an area of about 64 square miles. We have this year a little over 3,000 students, and as you mentioned, we have 5 schools. We have 3 elementary schools, a junior high school, and a high school. We employ approximately 200 certificated staff members and approximately 100 educational support staff, and that includes our bus drivers, our school lunch folks, our custodians, maintenance, and in those areas. We have our operating budget is approximately $6 million. That is primarily our state and local revenue, and then we have other revenue sources through the federal government for our Chapter 1 programs, our special education programs. So our total budget is a little over $7 million. Student population-wise, we are approximately the 11th largest in the state of Idaho, and there are 115 school districts throughout the state.
So you're one of the larger ones?
We are one of the larger school districts. I think that surprises a lot of people.
And I think one of the challenging things for you as administrator and the other administrators and faculty that you have been growing rapidly, and sometimes during that growth you don't have the facilities to keep up with the growth.
That you hit on you hit on a concern of the school district. Post Falls, it's kind of a bedroom community for both Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, and as you know, it's lies in the corridor along the freeway, and we've had growth spurts throughout the years. We've leveled out the last couple of years. Our enrollment has not fluctuated a great deal, which is fortunate. However, we do have some facility concerns. We have 2 schools that were built in the late 50s and early 60s, and we're concerned about their usefulness housing students of 500.
I guess I want to really compare this district with others in the country. I'm just really trying to get the message across to the viewers what is happening in public education. a real big issue in the country today has to do with facilities, tied to classroom size. I know Colleen and I were talking before the program that there's some real good studies now that talk about what maximizes quality education, and there's some real strong evidence that has to do with teacher-student ratios. So I guess my very involved question is one of, are you typical, as you talk to other superintendents and people around the country, are we crowded with facilities? Are the facilities old? Are class sizes rather large, not only in your district but around the country? Is this one of the things that we need to zero in on in relation to future needs?
I would say it would be, both nationally and statewide, and certainly at the local level. There are different, you'll hear a lot of different recommendations and read a lot of different research about class size. That was and is a concern of Post Falls School District. We, in Idaho, we have accreditation standards that we have to meet in each grade level, and we made an effort this year to do that, although it's questionable about whether or not those standards are too high, and we are concerned about that. Certainly, the theory that the younger you get students and the fewer students in those younger grades, the better off we are. I think that also holds true, though, K through 12.
But if you had to make a choice, you'd start when they're young to keep the size small.
Probably to start with the younger ones, to keep the size smaller.
One of my frustrations is that we have so much to talk to you about and not enough time. Television is in bites, and so I wish we could elaborate on some of these things. But I wish you'd tell us a little bit about your district, and as you do that, I know the viewers will be aware that some other districts are doing some of the same things. If you could do it in two parts. First of all, what is going on in public education today that's been going on a long time, like in the curriculum, things that don't change? Could you share some of that with us first?
Well, certainly the areas of reading and writing and mathematics, language arts, science, social studies, those are not going to change. And we have a very solid program all throughout our system in those areas. We have a curriculum development committee that looks into certain areas each year, and they spend year-long study going into the kinds of goals and objectives that they want students to have in each grade level. We have a number of other programs that enhance that basic core curriculum, and if I might, I could maybe just highlight some in each building.
That was the second part of my question, because on the other shows that are coming up for the viewers who will be tuning in on those days, we're going to talk about some of those, what I'd call exciting, innovative ways of supporting the traditional education.
I'll start with our elementary schools first. We have Ponderosa Elementary School. That's our newest facility. We have about 750 students in that building, and that is a very large elementary school. It may be the largest this year in the state of Idaho. They have a number of unique programs this year. We have a program called Walk Across Idaho. And our students, it is part of the Centennial study, and students and faculty are both involved, and they are going, actually walking near the school, clocking in miles from county seat to count how many miles it would take to get from one county seat to another. And they take the time to study each county, the history, and the geographics of each area, and then it also serves as a fitness program for that building. We also have a very active student council at the elementary level at Ponderosa.
You teach citizenship very early.
Yes, and we actually have a student body president and vice president and some other offices, and then each classroom has a representative, and they're very active in the activities of the school. Frederick Post Elementary School is well known not only in our area but throughout the state for its Artist in Residence program, and that's a program that's Debbie Hart started a number of years ago. I think it's about 8 years old, and under Mary Lou Arntz, the principal's leadership, that program has really blossomed. We are considered a model school in the area of arts and education at Frederick Post. They also have a unique program that we received through a grant called Reading is Fundamental. A lot of concentration on reading. They have a reading rodeo and a reading circus.
And they're going to talk to us about that.
And I think that you'll hear a little bit more about that in the coming weeks. Saltese Elementary School is unique in that it's an open concept school. And by that I mean that there are very few classrooms that actually have walls. So when you walk into Saltese, what you see is a lot of teamwork on behalf of the staff members and students working together. It's a very unique building in the school district.
I wish we could just go into a lot more details, but
You're going to stop me,
if you can tell us one example from junior high and one thing from the high school.
All right. Junior high school, let me just say that they have a very unique age group to work with. In Post Falls, it's a 7-8 combination. The kids are going from pre-adolescence, I guess, into adolescence, and they have a number of programs that kind of help bridge that gap, I guess, and some of those programs they're going to talk to you about are probably their Listening Hearts program and their Straight from the Heart program. Then I think at the high school we have a wide variety of programs. We have programs that pre-vocational programs, vocational programs, and then we offer a number of classes for those students that will intend to go on to college. And you'll hear a little bit about, I think, a variety of those. We have a lot of extracurricular activities at the high school. We also have a very unique program for severely handicapped students.
I've been out there and been very impressed with that. So, Kurt, we must move on to you. And excuse me, Bill, we're going to move you next as the principal. And could you give us some of the statistics that Kathy started with about the junior high and your staff and size?
You bet. The junior high, we're extremely fortunate to have a very solid staff. It's a staff of about 29 individuals, but our turnover has been almost zero, and that really helps us to pull together where we have some continuity in our programs and when you have continuity in the personnel. And then the makeup of that staff is just dynamic. They're really good, solid, dedicated people that want to get involved in kids' lives, not just there to do a regular job. They're there to get involved, and they do. We have about almost 500 kids, 496, I believe, at the present time. And we know that just with the kids that are presently in the district, next year we'll be moving to about 530. And this is a building that is not equipped to handle that number of kids, especially moving from class to class as they have to do.
You have to really get creative as that number goes up, and if you don't get an expansion of the building.
That's exactly right. And there really isn't much room for expansion. So really we're probably setting until such time that the building can be replaced. But we have a lot of the different programs that you've talked about. In of course, the traditional educational programs. We have some unique things going on at the junior high that I think I've never been involved with a school where we've been so community oriented with our interaction with the Park and Rec program. We have parents of a lot of our kids that are involved in basketball and volleyball. A lot of our kids are involved through Park and Rec at night in our facility.
When you say Park and Rec, you're talking about the city of Post Falls?
The city of Post Falls.
So your school district working with the city very closely.
Oh, absolutely. I spent a lot of time with the supervisor of the Park and Rec program and trying to integrate their program with our time slots and our facility. That benefits both,
doesn't it? Because you're using more staff this way and create more programs than you could normally have.
We really create a lot of extra things for the kids, but not only the kids, a lot of the adults from the community. And it really helps them break the barrier. And Post Falls, there aren't a lot of other things to do. It's not that far to go to Coeur d'Alene, and of course it isn't that far to go to Spokane, but to keep kids home in the hometown, keep them active, we really try and keep our facility available to them, and they really try and take care of it and help us keep it up. And so it's really been a good interaction for us. Then within the school, we have the traditional things as far as our special ed program, the GT program, the Gifted and Talented, to challenge the kids that have special gifts. And that's really been an exciting program to watch. And then, of course, as Kathy's already mentioned, our Straight from the Heart program and Listening Hearts that Colleen has been extremely involved in.
I'll be talking to her about that in a minute.
And that's great because it's been really an asset to us to help find out where these kids are and help move them on. The forestry program that Kurt's involved in has really been a benefit to us to help our kids understand more about things that go on in our own community that some of their parents are involved in. And it's also something that could be a life skill as well.
Bill, something that really strikes me from your conversation, I've picked it up from Kathy, I have visited all the schools and I've seen it. It seems to me one of the innovative things you're doing, and I'm sure there's some districts that are doing that in addition to you, but you seem to try to not only deal with the basics of education, but you try to look at the individual student, our groups and their needs, dealing with the handicapped, dealing with specially gifted young people, also dealing with the more Renaissance person. You're interested in the recreation, you're interested in the academics and the vocational. Isn't that something that's running through your junior high as well as other schools in the district?
Oh, it really is, and I've seen it, coming for some time, where you try and find the hot button for each kid to turn them on. We have one teacher that has volunteered his time year after year to teach kids how to tie flies.
So I interrupt to say that when you do those kind of things, don't you increase the chances that they will not drop out for graduation as a senior? Absolutely.
We find that we really feel that if a teacher or a group of teachers can develop a personal relationship with a kid, a lot of these kids that we have today are really hurting. There's been a tremendous breakdown in society, in the home. A lot of these kids are coming from situations that most of us would not even believe existed.
Trying to fill that gap.
Trying to fill the gap, trying to find out where they are, help them find ways of dealing with those problems, frustrations, anger, something where we can touch bases with them, where they know they can look us in the eye and there's a friend, there's somebody that'll care and somebody that'll listen. And that's what we're really trying to do through all of our programs.
Oh, I wish I could continue this, but you have really built a bridge to talk with Colleen, because Colleen's work has really received a lot of very good publicity, and it certainly was justified. Would you take us through the Straight from the Heart and the Listening Hearts program? Certainly your principals indicated some needs, but I want our viewers to know exactly what it is and what happens to the young people.
I think I'll start with the Listening Hearts program because the Straight from the Heart program came from that. It is a peer counseling program. Peer counseling programs are quite popular across the country right now. It's a trend in education, and the basis is that kids will talk to other kids before they will talk to adults about a problem. And the example that we always use is if you think about your own youth, you usually had a friend that you would speak with before you would go to your parents. So we poll our student body and we ask them to identify the kids that they go to on a natural basis, natural helpers, as it were. And then we take those kids and we take them on a weekend retreat and we train them in communication skills, crisis intervention, a little bit of crisis intervention, and referral skills and some self-awareness. And then we put them back into the student body and they are better at what they naturally do in that fashion.
That's so creative.
Well, it's not, I wish I could say I thought of it. I didn't. But
I mean, as a concept.
As a concept, it's wonderful. We have seen great success with the program in our building. We've started in the high school. This is the second year in the high school. And I think that it would be safe to say that we have averted several suicide attempts, many cases of abuse that have been reported directly related to this program. So it is serving a need for kids. The Straight from the Heart program really came from that. We received grant money to do the Listening Heart program 4 years ago, but we can only train a finite amount of kids each year, about 36. And we felt so strongly that the skills they were learning, the basic communication skills, interpersonal communication skills, were so vital that every kid should have the opportunity to learn those. And myself and Lisa Worley and Sue Smith, a parent, met on various occasions and brainstormed how can we get this to our whole student body, and that's how Straight from the Heart came into being. We devised a day-long series of workshops, many workshops that the kids would rotate through on a variety of different topics. Those topics have included self-esteem, depression, suicide prevention, intervention, substance abuse, grief and loss, communication with parents, communication with peers, just about everything. And all of the classes, I think the unique thing about this program is that the classes are designed from what the kids want, because we evaluate them each session and ask them, what more can we give you? What more do you want to know? Because if we don't meet the needs of the children, then we're not meeting the needs of the program.
When you do this, and you've indicated now that you've gone from having some peer workers to involving the entire student body, do you take an entire day for this, or how do you set this up for those school districts that might want to do this?
Well, actually, we went through lots and lots of wads of paper in the garbage before we finally figured this out. But Bill was very enthusiastic with it, and without the administrative support, we could not have done this program. We take a whole day from academics, and we divide the students up in homerooms, and there are groups of about 40, and they go from one classroom to another in like a round-robin tournament type situation, from one classroom to another to each session. And it is a day-long series of workshops, and we invite speakers in to do the 5 sessions. And we have...
Excuse me, does each student get into every one of the sessions?
Yes, so each student receives every session. We found that it works better if we do the 8th grade by themselves and the 7th grade by themselves, because their needs are different. 8th graders have different focuses and different needs, and the 7th graders have their own. So we've diversified, and we've grown, and we've evolved, and we've had requests up to this point from 2 out-of-state districts and local districts, and we're in the process of writing and copywriting a handbook for this program so that it will be available.
That is just such wonderful news, because you're reaching even beyond your student body to others. And I just have to say, from a very philosophical viewpoint, that if you had saved one life, and I know you saved more than one life, it's worth every moment and all the energy. And if I can editorialize, I would even indicate that you have not lost a day of academics, because if students straighten out certain problems, that's when they learn in the classroom. So
well,
you've gained time.
I would echo that, and I think that our staff would also say the same, that when you have a child who is concerned about unpleasant experiences going on at home, he cannot concentrate on spelling words.
That's right.
And when you can get that basic need met and those issues dealt with, then they're ready to learn, and it really, in the long run, makes our job a lot easier.
Yes, thank you. Kurt, I also want to talk about one of the other special programs at the Post Falls Junior High. It has to do with the Idaho Forestry Contest. And I know one thing that I'm learning from your district too is that with your work at the high school and the junior high, you're working on the academic programs and the vocational. You really are giving people choices. I guess my first question is what is the Idaho Forestry Contest, and who sponsors it, and what is its objective as a program?
Okay, Tony, actually the Idaho Forestry Contest, I think, has been in existence since 1983, and it's sponsored by the Idaho Department of Lands and the Bonner Soil Conservation Service jointly. And the objectives basically are to get students aware of an industry from this area that is, of course, very important to us, and to some degree to get those prepared for a career opportunity if they want to go that direction. I think that's less stress than one might think, because of course there aren't that many job positions open in that particular thing. But it's also just to get the community aware of what it entails to manage forest property. And since many of our students will someday be owners of property in the area, it gives them kind of a background knowledge as to how to care for property and to treat timber as a crop like you would anything else.
Even though they all won't be, they're in your program, won't be in that particular industry as an occupation, it is really an important part of the life of this part of the country, and they have friends and others. There's a kind of appreciation there too, isn't it, even if they're not going to be doing that as an occupation?
Oh yeah, and a lot of them have the interest in just doing outdoor activities too, and just the knowledge of what's really going on out there in the forest would be helpful in any of those pursuits.
Yeah. What kind of groups participate, and where? I mean, you compete with other groups, other places?
Yes, we do compete with other school districts. We've had districts as far away as Kamei come to the contest, and up to Bonners Ferry. There's also FFA groups have participated, and scouting organizations too. So we're pretty well open to compete against or with all kinds of different kids with all kinds of backgrounds. I'd like to issue a challenge, as a matter of fact, to the Coeur d'Alene schools who haven't participated lately to come out and get involved again.
A little competitive spirit rises there.
Yeah, a little competitive spirit, I think, is something that students really appreciate. And a lot of the kids that are on our teams really don't participate much in sports, and it kind of gives them an alternate way to get out there and have that competitive spirit and meet people from other districts. And at the same time, they're meeting many of the professionals in this area that can tell them exactly what kind of career opportunities are available to those that are very interested. And I do have some that are quite interested in pursuing those goals.
What you've done, just what we've been talking about, it's going to run through these whole series of programs, and that is trying to meet the need of different students. Some students, athletics is great for them, others they want something else. But I know what our viewers are thinking right now, and I don't have ESP, but I'm just sure they're sitting there saying, well, tell us what the contest is. What do you do? So would you explain to our viewers what?
Yes, it is a contest with events, and all the participants do run through a series of 6 different events, and I think they're going to add a new one this year. Events that foresters need to use in all of their pursuits, such as a plant and tree identification, log scaling. For those who don't know what that is, log scaling is when you determine how many board feet of lumber you can get from a log. Compass reading and pacing, where you use a compass and then also to determine the distance by just walking the distance to see how far it is. Tool identification, the types of tools that foresters use. Timber cruising, where you actually try to figure out how much a certain stand of trees will produce as far as the amount of timber that will come from it. And I think the new event that they're trying to implement this year has to do with soil identification. So it's quite a wide variety of things, and some of the things are more interesting to some students than others, and we've been rather successful in the past. And,
you've been the winner of that in the past, haven't you?
Yes, with our junior high team. Actually, we compete in 2 different divisions, the junior division and senior divisions. And our junior team has taken first place for the last 3 years, and our senior team took it last year. So we were the first group that took both trophies, and that's why I'm interested in challenging everybody else.
Congratulations. On that note, we're going to have to quit, believe it or not. What a nice note on which to end. We have some other things to talk about, awards in your district, but on behalf of our staff, Kathy and all of our other guests, thank you for being here on the first program to kick this off, and we got off to a great start, and I want to congratulate all of you again for serving students in the way that many of us perceive education should do that. And I just want to say that I'm very optimistic about what's going on in public education. Not that there aren't some problems that we have to deal with, but you're doing a wonderful job, and congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you'll be with us and again next week when we continue this 4-week series celebrating public education in this country. We have a lot to be proud of, and we want to talk about some of those innovative programs in the weeks that lie ahead. Until then, please have a good week. I am Tony Stewart.
North Idaho College Public Forum can be seen at the same time each week over this station. This production was videotaped earlier by an NIC student crew for viewing at this more appropriate time.